The 49ers came into Philadelphia and put a smackdown on the Eagles so bad, it had me wondering if this team is capable of winning the Super Bowl. Some serious issues that had been masked by winning were exposed. But as the emotions of the game wore off, and I watched and rewatched some more, and then rewatched how other teams handled the 49ers, including games going back to last year, there are some things to take away that led me to believe that they can beat this 49ers team if they meet again. First, it's been no secret that the Eagles have struggled to cover the middle of the field all season. Against a 49ers team that loves attacking the middle of the field with their yak monsters, that was a huge issue for the Philadelphia defense. 213 of San Francisco's 314 receiving yards came after the catch. But the thing is, they didn't help themselves with their play calling. The Eagles defense came into this game as one of the better defenses in limiting yak, and still are even after this game, holding teams to the 9th lowest yards after the catch. But the Eagles, as well as the rest of the NFL, are better at holding teams to less yak when not blitzing. When the Eagles blitzed the 49ers, they allowed Brock Purdy to complete 10 of 11 passes for a total of 213 yards and 3 touchdowns. The 49ers had 164 yards after the catch against the blitz, compared to 49 yards after the catch when not blitzed. That equaled out to 16.4 yards after catch per reception when blitzed versus 4.1 when not blitzed. Coming into the game, the 49ers were second in the NFL in yak when not blitzed at 5.9 yards per reception, and that number increases to 7.5 when blitzed, ranking second in the NFL as well. The Eagles plan to blitz the 49ers doesn't appear to be a wise choice to me. The 49ers have been held to a passer rating below 100 5 times this year. 4 of those 5 times came in the bottom 5 games and blitz percentage faced when passing. There are 2 outliers. The Vikings blitzed the 49ers at the second highest rate and had the second best quarterback rating allowed, but they're a bit of an outlier as Brian Flores is running a defense that the NFL hasn't seen yet and are still trying to figure out. Read up on him a little if you have a chance, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Flores and his disciples usher in the next wave of defensive coaches, much like Vic Fangio has done with his system. The other outlier is the Arizona Cardinals, who blitzed at the 4th lowest rate, but let's be honest, as a whole, they have arguably the worst defensive talent in the league. Blitzing is not the way to defend this 49ers team, and the Eagles blitzed the 49ers at the 4th highest rate this season. It's not difficult to understand why blitzing leads to more yak. There's less defenders to pursue the ball carrier when passes are completed. Let's look at this touchdown from Deebo Samuel. Does Nicholas Morrow need to make this tackle? Yes, of course. But if there's an extra defender playing in the hook curl area next to Morrow instead of blitzing, do you think Deebo gets a touchdown? Another thing, yak is a team stat. Morrow got blamed for almost all of the yak yardage that occurred in this game, but missing a tackle should not mean that a player goes another 42 yards to the house, especially on a pass caught short over the middle. Slay is still jogging to the ball 5 yards after Deebo has already gone upfield. He then goes into oh shit mode, but it's too late. Byard wasn't hustling either, and neither was Bradbury. This is not championship level defensive effort, and this is something to be expected from the Niners. Deebo has the 5th highest rate of broken and missed tackles forced on receptions among all positions. I mentioned in my preview video, Deebo is Alvin Kamara playing receiver. You cannot give this type of team effort trying to get a guy like him down. He is going to break tackles. Everyone has to rally to the ball. I know some people will blame the refs for not calling a hold on Reed Blankenship. I don't care if Reed got held. Refs are going to miss penalties. You control what you can't control, and that's the effort level that you play with. Let's look at another play, and this time it is solely on Morrow. The Eagles are sending a 3 under 3 deep fire zone blitz. In typical fire zone rules, the flat defenders, in this case Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship, match the number 2 receiver if they run vertical or to the flat. On this play, Sidney Brown's man ran a deep end breaking route, so he matches that receiver. Morrow is playing what is often referred to as a 3 receiver hook, or the 3 rec hook for short. He has to relate to the number 3 receiver. When the 49ers initially line up, it's Christian McCaffrey, but due to the motion, it ends up being George Kittle. Morrow gets confused by the motion and lets Kittle go. Kittle does block first before releasing to the flat, but like I mentioned in my preview video, the 49ers love using this split flow look when utilizing play action from shotgun, with Kittle releasing to the flat if he doesn't need to block anyone. Morrow should have been aware of this and followed Kittle to the flat. The Eagles have had a lot of communication breakdowns throughout the year, but Morrow generally hasn't been involved in much of that, but it was a tough game for him on Sunday. But here's the thing, I don't like this play call anyway. Let's say Morrow does follow Kittle to the flat right away. That leaves the middle of the field wide open for a receiver running an end-breaking route against a defender playing with outside leverage. Here, we see Reed get depth to help out Sid, but now that leaves CMC wide-ass open underneath. This play is doomed from the start. I'm gonna sound like a broken clock, but like I mentioned in the preview video, the 49ers have a much higher tendency to throw when not under center. The same was true this game, as they threw on 75% of the plays they were not under center. What if, instead of blitzing when they see the 49ers in shotgun, they check to a play like, I don't know, cover 3 buzz, where Reed can play the hook curl from the top down and Sweat can drop to the flat. Sitting here being able to press replay knowing how this game played out is one thing, but I did mention that the Eagles should have been doing this before the game. Let's look at one more play. Here, we see both linebackers bite on the play fake, which I think the Eagles linebackers needed to do a better job of understanding run pass tendencies from shotgun. When you watch linebackers on teams that play the 49ers often, they are much more patient when they get a play fake from the gun as they are playing the odds that it's going to be a pass. But also, if you don't blitz and instead have another defender playing in coverage, it helps alleviate some of that pressure that the 49ers put on linebackers. Here, we see the 49ers hit a big play with a lot of yak versus the blitz. Later, we see the same action, but this time the Eagles don't blitz and have a player in position to come down on the crossing route. Reed is just a step behind getting to the ball, but it's still a bang-bang play that limits the yak and has a much higher likelihood of ending up incomplete than what we saw when they were blitzing. Now, the Eagles can still send blitz looks by running different types of simulated and creeper pressures, but just drop out an extra defender on the opposite side so they can maintain 7 in coverage. Also, I know people will think that you have to load the box to stop the 49ers run, but dropping a safety down into the box late often leaves him unaccounted for. Regardless, if these teams meet again, the Eagles need to limit the number of blitzes they run. And to be honest, the Eagles probably need to lean into a lower blitz rate the rest of the year. The Eagles are not a good blitzing team, as they allow a significantly worse passer rating, completion percentage, yards per attempt, and combined pressure and sack rate when blitzing versus when they don't. That was true before this game, and it damn sure is after as well. They're not getting home sending extra guys, and they don't have the speed in the back 7 to close that extra space that comes with blitzing. I think they should blitz as a changeup only, or in specific matchups where they think they actually have an advantage when blitzing. Against the 49ers isn't it. Next, the Eagles had some struggles against the 49ers run game, though I think just a couple adjustments will make life easier on them. Number 1, the 49ers had a lot of success when running outside zone, particularly at Josh Sweat. For whatever reason, he had a higher tendency to get upfield as opposed to when they ran outside zone at Nolan Smith, Hassan Reddick, or Brandon Graham. I imagine he's trying to force the 49ers to cut the run back, but the 49ers had a counter by using their Zorro call, where they had a fullback come help the tight end combo block Sweat. By using the fullback to combo, this allows Kittle to take an outside release, knowing he doesn't have to worry about getting backdoored with the fullback coming to help inside. This hard outside release by Kittle forces Sweat inside where the fullback comes and kicks him out. It just made it too easy for CMC to stay on his outside path instead of cutting back. Instead of trying to get upfield immediately and creating a vertical seam, I think if Sweat tries to work back outside with a combo block, it will help either force the running back to flatten his path toward the sideline or have to cut back. I also think that if they widen out their defensive tackles just a bit, it will help put them in a better position to either not get reached so they can maintain leverage or prevent the 49ers from even combo blocking that defender up to the linebacker. In addition to that, different line movements and gap exchange techniques can help throw off the blocking assignments against any type of run. Here's an example of the Eagles running the same outside zone run the 49ers use, but this time the Rams use a stunt to screw up the blocking assignments and get unblocked defenders. To be clear, the Eagles did start using some line movement against the 49ers that resulted in unblocked defenders, but the Eagles have to finish those plays. Another thing I'd like to see for the Eagles is to tighten up the alignment of their edge defenders, particularly Josh Sweat. I don't know if this is a coaching thing or a Sweat thing, but notice how wide Sweat is here. It makes it more difficult for Sweat to compress the space between the down block and kick out on this counter run. Milton needs to do a better job not getting washed out of the play, which he gets better at as the game goes on, but as Sweat makes contact here, he's still helping take away room for CMC to run. Here, we see Nolan Smith tighter to the end man of the line of scrimmage, and he steps laterally to take on the incoming blocker, which compresses the gap. Also notice how Milton Williams' inside stunt messes up the combination block from the center and guard and doesn't allow them to get to the second level as clean. I doubt the Eagles will shut down the 49ers rushing attack. They're just a very good running team, but a few adjustments should help prevent some of the explosive plays they had and should allow the Eagles to get the 49ers into a few more long, down, and distance scenarios. And when they get into those scenarios, the Eagles need to stop blitzing, as Purdy was held to 12 completions on 18 attempts for 120 yards, 2 sacks, and a 6-yard scramble. Overall, saw when not blitzed. Purdy's 6.7 yards per attempt is lower than the NFL average. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that the Eagles win the game with these adjustments. I mean, Brock Purdy's quarterback rating goes from second when blitzed all the way to third when not blitzed, but his quarterback rating drops from 139 to 104, and his sack and interception rate go up as well. However, I think implementing these adjustments will help the Eagles have a much better chance of coming out with a victory if these teams meet again.